Let's get it on. Ooh. Alexa, pause. How can I not start off a video called Can Disability Make You Sexier without playing Let's Get It On the Alexa? So, how about we get this conversation going, shall we? Let's get it on. Let's get it on in this conversation. So, can a disability make you sexier? Let's dive into that, shall we? Let's go on a journey into what I mean by this question and if it could possibly be true. So, once upon a time, there lived a boy. Okay, for real though. I had a good conversation today and it kind of like brought to light something that I already kind of feel and think. But it kind of started with, when we go through a major life change that makes our way of life, it's like throwing a wrench in our way of life. And that could be like a stroke, a surgery that went wrong, an injury. You have a child with disabilities, your mom gets really sick, you get cancer, you get depressed. Like there's just a million ways, brain injury, like whatever, like a million ways for something to change the course you were on. And what do we do? What do we all do? Well, first of all, you think, well, I'm going to make a full recovery. I'm going to be stronger than I was before. It's like an impulse. But after that, like once we really sit down and start looking at this major change or this story of adversity that we found ourselves in, we think it will not win. Have you not said that? Are you not like, I am not going to let this change my life. I am not going to lose my life to this. I'm going to fight to keep who I am and in my life. So it will not win. And that's important. Keep that in mind. As we go in this journey to can disability be sexy? And so what do we do, right? We say, you know what? I'm going to keep cooking dinner for my family. I'm going to keep going to work. You know what? I'm going to work, instead of working 8 hours a day, I'm going to work 14 hours a day just to prove that this cannot slow me down and that it cannot take things away from me. And then I'm going to, I'm going to work out. I'm going to look better than I've ever looked. And you know what? I'm going to reverse this situation by changing my diet. And I'm going to Google my face off to see if I can find a solution on the internet for what I'm going through and follow all these gurus and read self-help. And I'm going to, you know what? I'll even follow that crazy girl unicorn on Facebook. Yeah, I'll even listen to some of her videos. I'll do all this and it will not win. So we kill ourselves trying to resist and fight this new story or this new chapter of our story. We're trying to not let this chapter be written. We're trying to stay in the last chapter. But what you resist persists. And I want you to take that quote and then look at your life and the things that are driving you crazy and they just won't go away and you just can't get rid of them. Are you resisting them? Are you resisting them? Are you resisting something that's already happening? What resists persists. And also when something comes into our life sometimes, like I love the phrase that nothing ever leaves us until it's taught us what it has to teach us. Anyways, I just think those are both good lessons, but let's go back to the fighting, right? The resisting. And it's like, this will not win. That's noble, right? That's like loving yourself and loving your life and like being a strong person, is it not? But, okay. But here's the thing, I'm sure some of you have seen, I've started my Greater Inner Circle. It's like my private membership group. And we're doing an exercise in there and I'm like loving the responses I'm seeing from it. But the exercise is like, you think you know what you want and then you peel back the layers to find the root of what is behind that want. But so in this scenario, when we're resisting, when we're fighting, like, what is it you're fighting for exactly? What is it you're fighting for? Like you're fighting to keep your life, right? Because you don't want to let this story of adversity take from you, right? But peel back that layer. Could it be that you don't, like, what is it that you really don't want to lose? And it's you don't want to lose your light. You don't want to lose your joy. You don't want to lose your capabilities. Like, that's the bottom layer. So what happens when you start resisting and fighting your story from adversity from actually happening is you become your own enemy. Because what you're doing is you're killing yourself. You're wearing yourself down. You're fighting your own self. You're fighting the next chapter of your book that's already being written. And you end up stealing your own joy and dimming your own light, which is what you're actually fighting to keep. Does that make sense? So it's like when our life changes and this story of adversity comes in, you know, whether that's a health challenge or whatever it is, like it's already happening. And when you resist it, it's like you're trying to stay the same person and do the same things in a new chapter. Like, and for me, it's like, why would I want to do the same job and live the same exact life I was living, you know, the same environment when I got autoimmune, and do it all not as good? Because I can't move as fast. My hands are more paralyzed. It's like, no matter what, if I kept my life the exact same way and tried to do all of the same things, I would be not as good at all of them. So it'd be living a less than version of myself, which again, isn't that what you're trying to fight? Like, by resisting, aren't you fighting the feeling less than feeling? Aren't you fighting the story of adversity comes in and you don't want your life to be less than before? Like you want to still be able to have a greater life than you did before, but you're fighting to stay the same when you're at a less than advantage. And you're not trying to change your life to be somebody different. You're trying to be the same person when you can't do it as well. Of course, that's going to be frustrating. And again, what you resist persists. But also, what you're really fighting when your story, this change happens, what you're really fighting is you don't want it to let it steal your joy. But when you're resisting, when you're fighting, you're stealing your own joy, your own worst enemy. See what I mean? Anyways, so this conversation that I had today was like with a good friend of mine. He's had a spinal cord injury and he resisted, and he's been fighting, you know, being disabled for a really long time. And, you know, he just wouldn't, like, even like most of his friends don't even know that he's had a spinal cord injury. They don't know that stairs are impossible. He just almost lets people just think he's really drunk sometimes. So anyways, after 10 years of, 10 years post injury, he like finally went on a limb, and instead of hiding, instead of resisting, he got some ankle braces, and it just rocked his world. It just changed his world. He's able to ride his bike in a way that he's never been able to ride. He's getting muscle sore that he hasn't gotten sore in years. And like, this is 10 years post spinal cord injury. Like, people think that 1, 2, 3 years, maybe 5 post autoimmune, post injury, that like, that's as good as you're going to get. But it's not always. Like, there's like other options you can try that you didn't think of before. When you stop resisting, like, it'll stop persisting so much. Like, he quit resisting the disability so much, and then all of a sudden he tried something, and now he's moving better. He's getting parts of his life back because he quit resisting and tried something new. But what he was the most afraid of was like, people looking at him and seeing his ankle braces, people looking at him and seeing that he had disabilities, and that's why he wants everyone to think he's normal. He wants to stay the same guy and all those things, but he's not. And what I told him is like I was like, do you know how brave you are that after 10 years, after thinking that this is as good as you're gonna get, and y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about, where you've tried a lot of things to make your situation better, and some of them work, a lot of them didn't. And it's really exhausting, and it's a lot of heartbreak. And at some point you just can't take it anymore, and you don't want to try new things anymore. And so what I told him, I'm like, you think that it's going to be unsexy, or you think that people are going to look at you and not think that like they're going to think that you're like less than they are because of your disability. I was like, but you know what I see? I see a freaking brave person, a brave person that was like, you know what? I'm going to try something new, even 10 years, to make my situation better and my life better. I'm going to face my fear of people seeing my disability and seeing I need help on my ankles because my quality of life will be better. Like, I'm like, to me, that's a really brave thing, to show up and be like, I'm going to try again after failing and not thinking I can get better. That's brave, and that's sexy. That's sexy. And you know what else? It's like when you have a story of adversity, when you have, especially like chronic pain or disability or any of that stuff that's like a physical challenge too, or even like depression, like a mental challenge, like there's great opportunity in there, great responsibility, but great opportunity to it's like you have a power that other people don't. Other people who don't have stories of adversity do not have the potential for the type of power you have. Like because my hands have disability, like when I tell people, like I moved to Cabo by myself in the middle of a pandemic, and like with paralyzed hands, like people are impressed by that. But if I didn't have paralyzed hands and said, oh, I moved to Cabo, they'd be like, well, that sounds fun. Like there is a power. There is an opportunity to get a lot, like to be sexy, to be attractive, to pull people towards you because of your story of adversity. And it comes at a cost. It does. Like the cost is like how hard it is and, you know, like the challenges and how exhausting it is. Like that's the cost. But the reward is greater than somebody that's not in your shoes. Like you have the opportunity, you have the power, you have the ability to be extremely sexy, to be extremely attractive, to be extremely likable because you were able to do something and overcome something in an extreme challenge. And people are drawn to that. Like people are drawn, like when they can look at you and be like, wow, like they're doing what they're doing, so I can do what I'm doing. Like when you're like my friend, I told him, when you show up in your ankle braces and you say like, I have enough confidence in myself and I love my life enough that I don't care if these look stupid. And I do, like, I had a spinal cord injury and it's really hard for me to walk and it's really hard for me to do stairs. But you know what? I still freaking rock my life and love my life. And so I went and found some braces and did a little research and now I'm rocking a mountain bike and having a great old time. Like that's attractive. Like that's, to me, a lot sexier than the person that's like, I want to hide who I am. I don't want to own my story and I don't want to own what happened to me. So I'm going to let people think that I'm drunk walking around because I don't want people to know that I have disability. Like the guy that walks up and says, I own my story and I don't care because I'm happy and I still find stuff to do that I love and enjoy in my life, that's sexy. And the thing, going back to what I was saying earlier before, how what you resist persists, and like how we are fighting, like we don't want to let these massive changes change our life, like these unwanted changes, these bombs that like go off in our life, whether it's autoimmune or cancer or whatever. It's like we're just like, I don't want this and I don't want it to change my life. But the thing is, the thing that comes to your life, it only wins if you don't change. Like we think it wins if we change, but it's the opposite. Like life is not about like these big massive changes that come in. Like it's not like winning's not about like, oh, I'm strong. I'm so strong that I'm not going to change and I'm not going to let it change my life, that I'm going to kill myself, dim my own light, kick my own ass because I'm not going to let it win. Like what's winning is playing your hand. Playing the cards you're dealt, playing poker with your life, playing your hand. Like, it's like the hand I was dealt was CIDP, paralysis, paralyzed hands for like freaking ever. And, you know, when all that happened, I had a wonderful life that I loved, a great group of friends, like wonderful job. You know, I had a really good relationship before I got sick. Which that could be a whole different video about what happens in a relationship with one person when one person gets sick. But it's like, at the time, I never would have had the ability to move to a foreign country. Like, not because I loved the life I had and that just wasn't in the cards. And one of the first things I thought of whenever, you know, all my strings got cut, all my strings of attachment got cut, I was just like, I can move to a foreign country now. I'm going to play my hand. Instead of trying to like force a relationship to stay that wasn't working anymore for me, instead of trying to force doing the same job that was stressful all the time, like instead of like trying to be the same person in a new situation, I was like, I'm going to be a new person in a new situation. I'm going to play my hand. Like, I want to, I want to own who I am and rock who I am and like create something new. Like it's been a really wonderful experience. Like I have better relationships with people now and strangers now than in a lot of ways I did before. And it's because I played the hand I was dealt. Like I have new advantages and I take advantage of those. Like instead of like mourning the loss of the other ones. Anyways, so that's what's being sexy, is like owning your own story. Like stop resisting what's, the more you resist, the more it's going to persist. And like, it's sexy to be brave. Like it's sexy to show up and like show your weaknesses and show your disabilities. And when I say disabilities, I don't necessarily mean like a physical disability. I mean anything that disables the way that you're able to function. Like that's what I mean. Like anything that's disabling to your life. Like, but when you can just show up with it and just own it and accept it and move on and integrate it, like that's sexy. That's brave. That's courageous. That's amazing. And you have the power to do that and the power to be an overcomer and impress the heck out of yourself, impress the heck out of other people because shit went down, stuff happened, and you accepted it and owned it and turned it into something amazing. Anyways, I just wanted to share that and sending you much love from Mexico at my new home. That's Cabo out there. Somewhere there. And that's my friend Alex back there. Whee! She's so sweet. She carried all my stuff upstairs, like all the heavy stuff. She hung all my clothes up on hangers. She like unpacked me. She's been a really, really good friend. So I give her a shout out. Anyways, sending love to you and ciao.